Ladies and gentlemen, live from Kuala Lumpur, this is the Karma Dialogues, Day 3. I'm Aisha Sinclair, your host for this evening. And tonight, we are bringing out the youth force. We'll be talking with Sri Lankan actor and award-winning director, Rehan Mudannayake. And his short films are making the rounds right now at several prestigious film festivals. And it has been selected from over 6,000 submissions for the Academy Award qualifying Holly Shorts Film Festival. And yes, that is a big deal. Hi, Rehan.
Hi, Aisha. Thanks for having me.
All right, I look forward to our chat later. Other than Rehan, also joining us from Bangladesh, we have Shomy Chowdhury, who is an award-winning water, sanitation, and hygiene activist whose work is geared to saving lives. Now, her efforts have won her numerous awards, including an award from President Barack Obama and the Princess Diana Legacy Award. Hi, Shomy.
Hi, Aisha. Looking forward to the rest of the show. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to having you too. Also, joining us again on the show tonight, singer Janice Javier from Manila. Hey, Janice.
Hi, Aisha. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to you kicking off this show in Janice style. Are you ready?
Me too. I'm ready.
All right, it's all yours.
Used to bite my tongue and hold my breath. Scared to rock the boat and make a mess. So I sit quietly, agreed politely. I guess that I forgot I had a choice. I let you push me past my breaking point. I stood for nothing, so I fell for everything. You held me down, but I got up. Hey, already brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound. Like a thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me down, but I got up. Hey, get ready, cause I'm had enough. I've seen it all, I've seen it now. I got the eye of the tiger, fighter, dancing through the fire. Cause I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion. Cause I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Oh, 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 you're gonna hear me roar. Now I'm floating like a butterfly, singing like a bee. I earned my stripes. I went from zero to my own hero. You held me down, but I got up. Hey, you're ready, brushing off the dust. You hear my voice, you hear that sound. Like a thunder gonna shake the ground. You held me up, but I got up. Hey, get ready, cause I've had enough. I've seen it all, I've seen it now. I got the eye of the tiger, dancing through the fire. Cause I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar louder, louder than a lion. Cause I am the champion, and you're gonna hear me roar. Oh, 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 you're gonna hear me roar. Gonna hear me
Wow, Janice, that was a wonderful way to start off the show. Thank you so much. Look forward to you singing later, okay?
Yeah,
All
maybe
right,
we'll do a
so,
duet.
oh no. Oh no, I don't think so. Maybe next time, okay?
Okay.
So, the Karma Dialogues were brought to you by the UNDP's Asia Pacific Bureau, and they have a very special purpose. So, to explain the idea behind the dialogues, here is the head of UNDP in Asia and the Pacific, Ms. Kani Wignaraja. Over to you, Kani.
Thank you, Aisha. You know, we've had 2 great days of inspirational conversations. And today we give the stage to 2 talented young people who are breaking new ground and making a difference with the work they are doing and who they are. So the Karma Dialogues is a series of conversations brought to you by UNDP's Asia Pacific Bureau. And for those of you who followed us in the past 2 days and those of you who are new to this today, let me say that karma speaks to our actions that define us and steer our destinies. Simply put, it is about cause and effect. So our past and present actions impact our future. And we want to influence and impact that future in the best way possible. So this is an opportunity to bring together a group of inspiring characters, real characters, who have decided to act. They have been bold, even when shy. They have often not chosen the easy way, or maybe sometimes the easy way did not choose them. So we want to share their stories so they inspire more people across our region to say that even in tough times, like we are in today, there are these moments and there are folks that stir us to make a difference and to do even more than what we are doing. So here we are, another day of Karma Dialogues to take charge of our destiny. Back to you, Aisha.
Thank you very much, Kani, for that. Now, tonight, we have 2 young guests who are making their mark in the world of film and development. So I'm really looking forward to the conversations and the stories that they will be sharing tonight. Shomy Chowdhury, who has been working to prevent deaths from diarrhea in Bangladesh and across the world, and is a champion in youth advocate. Now, we will be speaking to her soon, but first, joining us live from Colombo, award-winning filmmaker and actor Rehan Mudannayake. All right, great to have you here, Rehan, on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Aisha. Nice to be here.
Now, 2020 has been an interesting year for you, hasn't it? So please tell us a little bit about it. I mean, what were the highlights?
Gosh, the highlights of 2020. It's strange because I feel like the first 80% of this, well, not much happened in the first 80% of this year, and the culmination of the last 8 years kind of happened in the last 3-4 weeks. There were 2 film projects that I was a part of. One was at university, a short film called Didi that I worked on during my master's. Didi got into an Academy Award qualifying film festival. It's the first Academy Award qualifying film festival I'd gotten into in 8 years of making films. And we were fortunate enough to, I think, be selected from about 6,000 submissions. So that was kind of like the first highlight, I feel. The second highlight comes next month. I was very lucky to be selected as like for one of the lead roles in a new feature film by an Oscar nominee, Deepa Mehta. She made a film called Funny Boy, which was just bought by Ava DuVernay and drops on Netflix next month. Yeah, I feel like those really are the 2 highlights. The rest of the year has really been me in lockdown, which is not that interesting.
No, I think the world was in lockdown. But anyway, congratulations on that. So yeah, your book, your movie, the one that you acted in, Funny Boy, it's based on the book by Sham Chowdhury, and we actually spoke to him 2 days ago.
Yeah.
So that's really fun. And yeah, and I heard that also has been nominated in the foreign film, categories for the Academy Awards. So you've got a foot in the door as both a director and an actor. So congratulations about that.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much.
So your short film, Didi, tell us a little bit about it, and then how did you come about to making it? How was that whole journey for you?
Yeah, Didi was an interesting one because I feel like in the Western sort of film and television industry, one of the biggest kind of challenges South Asians face is the lack of opportunities available, on and off screen. I mean, for actors, for directors. And I've always tried my level best to try and change this atmosphere with my own work, at least on a micro level. I think growing up, I found it quite shocking that a lot of South Asian narratives in the West are often quite stereotypical, quite problematic. There's a lot of misrepresentation, there's exoticization, because our stories are often written by those who may not have had our experiences. And this kind of limits the scope of topics and themes represented. And I mean, we've all kind of seen stories revolving around arranged marriage or, family abuse. A young woman is forced into an arranged marriage by her oppressive family and then kind of beaten by her husband. I feel like we've all seen that story. And on the acting side, I think brown people are often cast, again, in very problematic roles, as cab drivers or as terrorists, and they're forced to exaggerate their accent. They'll ask you to be more Indian or be more Sri Lankan. And it kind of puts us in a bit of a strange position, right? Because, I mean, as somebody kind of breaking into the industry, you want the work, but you don't want to pander to these outdated stereotypes either. So as a filmmaker, in my own little way, I kind of attempted to conquer these challenges by creating opportunities for people of color, partly through telling South Asian stories that veer away from these stereotypes. I try to tell stories, where being South Asian isn't necessarily like the focal point of the story. I've also tried to hire, people of color on and off screen to tell those stories. And I think Didi's a pretty good example. I spent most of my first term at university creating Didi. It was an extracurricular project, absolutely nothing to do with my degree. Somebody on my master's course at University College London, which is where I was doing my degree, mentioned that our film society, which had this really kind of long history, lots of notable alumni, including Christopher Nolan, who made Inception and The Dark Knight, and his longtime producer wife. My friend told me that the Film Society was kind of funding a narrative short film, and I asked to have a look at the selected script, and let me tell you, it was absolutely mesmerizing. It was written by like another master's student, Radhika Jani, and she'd created this incredibly rich and nuanced world. It was about a young British Indian woman who is faced with a momentous decision when she's reunited with her long lost sister. What I loved about it was that it was like a very universal story of two sisters reuniting for a day. Really like a story of, like the little moments that warrant attention. So throughout production, we kind of in pre-production, we worked tirelessly to make sure the cast and crew were overwhelmingly diverse. The 60% were people of color, 60, actually maybe 70% were women. Again, very, very rare on a Western production, where more often than not, the vast majority is, white, male dominated. And I think looking back on it, this really changed the film entirely. It enriched the movie itself. And I think by building diversity and inclusion into our cast and crew, we were able to provide more opportunities for students from BAME backgrounds who emerged from the process with a whole new set of skills, who wanted to go on and work in the industry. I mean, I always say one of society's great strengths is in its diversity. And this is really something to be celebrated and reflected in the films we make and watch. Let me think, what else? I mean, there were like a whole series of challenges. We were given just 3 weeks to make this film, and we were given £500, which is tuppence. And everybody was doing, degrees, right? And the vast majority of my crew were freshers, studying other subjects like human sciences, economics, philosophy. Most of them hadn't made a film before. So to kind of ensure everybody was up to speed, I kind of facilitated workshops with industry professionals in sound recording and in lighting, so we could kind of pull off this film. And eventually we shot the film over 2 19-hour days. I think it was a Saturday and it was a Sunday. It's a cold Christmas weekend in North and South London. And then we spent the rest of the year kind of cutting it together. And yeah, as I kind of mentioned before, like it all kind of paid off. It's gotten into 3 festivals so far. One is also qualifying. The second is Canadian Screen Award qualifying. And yeah, we were very kind of lucky to kind of be featured in the lineup. I think we got selected from 6,000 films. And yeah, and like funnily enough, I was part of like a Holly Shots Q&A a few days ago, and I learned that the average, like the minimum budget of a film at this festival was $40,000. Which I thought was hilarious because we made a film for 600, and we managed to make it in there. So, I mean, I really think it is possible, and these ceilings are kind of made to be shattered. And through shattering them, you're providing others with a chance to do the same. But I think importantly, you kind of have to be the change you want to see, and you have to kind of take space in order to make this happen. Yeah.
Absolutely. You took on the project by the horns, literally, and everything that you wished to achieve, from a script that actually tells real stories away and breaks away from stereotypes, from the diversity in your crew. And it's actually gone so far for what, £600? That's brilliant. So yeah, it's well worth it. Congratulations on that, Rehan. My gosh. I know, and you're shooting it over a weekend. No, that's something. Now, and so, well, other than all of your, the experiences that you went through creating this movie, now you've done a lot of work in the past, Elephant, the Red Mustang and all that, but why does DD, does it have a special place for you? Well, other than the fact that, it's made it to the Academy Awards qualifying festival, right? But, is there another reason why that one's special to you?
It was special to me because it was so different. It was so different from anything I'd ever read before. And I think the writer and I were just so frustrated with the vast majority of work that makes it into British theater or into American and British television and cinema, that it was really like a breath of fresh air. And I was just absolutely determined to kind of make this film. And it was an amazing experience overall because I got to coach and to mentor a group of 18, 19-year-olds who'd never really worked on a film before. And I think it was incredibly special. It was incredibly special for me because a lot of these younger crew members became like family to me. And we certainly plan on collaborating, at some point in the future. But it was, I think out of my entire university experience, it was, this was probably the highlight, I'd say. Yeah, I'm really glad I took it on, and things kind of worked out, I suppose. Yeah.
Wow. Now, moving on from, film directing, you tried out acting. So in Deepa Mehta's movie Funny Boy, which was based on the book by Sham Chowdhury. So was that your first experience acting?
Yeah, it was. It was. I'd been in school plays, but I never really acted before.
Those don't count.
Yeah, exactly. Those do not count. And they always cast me as the narrator, which is the role they give to like non-actors. So yeah, this is my first acting role. And yeah, it was like just the most amazing experience, again, taught me a lot, it taught me a lot. I think it taught me to kind of be bold. So I feel like throughout life, these golden opportunities will present themselves sometimes in disguise. And it's kind of important to keep an open mind, because these opportunities don't come by very often. You have to take risks. There's a great quote that I only learned recently, but I feel like it kind of applies to this situation. That quote being, if someone offers you an opportunity, take it and work out how to do it later.
Oh, I like that.
I think, yeah. And I think it ties in quite well, actually. Like the quote ties in quite well into the story of like how I got this acting role.
Yeah, tell us, how did that happen?
Because I mean, as I said before, I had zero experience, right? I'm like almost all of my experience has been behind the camera. When I was 19, a long time ago, I worked on Deepa Mehta's film Midnight's Children as an assistant set decorator, which is really a glorified title for laborer. I did that for about 3 months. Amazing experience. 10 years later, last summer, she'd woken up in the middle of the night and she remembered my face from set all those years ago. And she asked her assistant to drop me a message. So I get this email the next day. It said, "Hi, Rehan. Deepa is casting her new film and she'd like to know whether you act." To which I said, "Sure, of course I act." Now, I mean, blatant lie, I hadn't starred in any plays, short films, or features, like not since school. You could say I was kind of exaggerating the truth a little, but I kind of said yes, right? There was no turning back. So they immediately sent me like 5 scenes from the film to learn within the next couple of days. So I had to look through the scenes, and I realized they wanted me to read for one of the leads. And I thought, I'm definitely not getting this. There are far more deserving, more qualified people who've been to drama school out there who'll actually do this justice. I also remember thinking, wow, they're going to be so disappointed when they watch my auditions and find out I'm like a complete fraud. But, I was going to give it like my best shot because I didn't really have anything to lose. It's like I called up like a close kind of director friend of mine to kind of read lines with me, and he coached me through some of the scenes, and I think we recorded them on my iPhone in my living room, and I sent the videos off afterwards. The very next day, Deepa responded. She said, "Hi, how are you? It's been a while. Lovely to hear from you. I watched your auditions. Interesting. Can you maybe try it out like this?" She kind of listed below like a few kind of very vague directions. So I thought, yeah, I think I can do that. So I redid the scenes. I sent them off and got an email back the very next day. And the email read, "Rehan, those were good, but I'd like you to get up, walk around, use the space in your living room. Come on, you can impress me." Now, when an Oscar-nominated director says "impress me," it's like mildly terrifying.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So I redid the scenes and I sent them off, but I didn't hear anything back for a while. And I was like, did they get the audition videos? I was in London at the time writing my master's thesis, and they were in Toronto, where her company is based. And about a week later, I got a call on my phone, and it was Deepa. And she said, Rehan, we loved your auditions and we'd like to cast you as one of the leads. And then she said, I think your experience in directing short films over the last 7 years has led to these amazing auditions because you were able to take my direction. And then she was like, are you free in October? We start production then. And I was really lucky because I had just finished, I was coming to the end of my master's. My master's ended in September, and I flew out, to Sri Lanka, and I think, we began filming in October, like mid-October. Though I did kind of still arrive on location feeling like a total imposter because I was surrounded by like all these seasoned actors. Many of them had been acting for like 30, 40 years. There'd been multiple kind of award-winning feature films, been to like the best drama schools in the world. And then there was like little old me. But I kind of kept my own advice.
Give yourself credit, Rehan.
So I kind of kept my own advice in mind, be bold, take risks, and I also did my best to kind of learn from everybody around me. And I'm really proud to say they never found out that I lied and I didn't get fired on my first ever feature as an actor until now. No. Anyway, it's out. The secret's out,
It is, isn't it? Right? You can't hide it anymore.
But and then we got these two amazing bits of news about a month ago that Ava DuVernay bought our film, and that we'd be going to Netflix, and then the Oscar news came like about a week or two later. So it's been quite an overwhelming like few months, but in the most amazing way.
That's spectacular. Now, the whole journey of you getting from the beginning to this point, you tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've faced, just getting here.
Do you mean kind of growing up or later on?
Growing up, or even, one of the challenges that you remember the most. And it could be something within, your professional career, or it could be something that, happened while you were growing up.
So I think growing up, I was quite shy. But I mean, I had lots of friends, and I was a bit of a risk taker, and when I was about 13, my parents kind of proposed the idea of like an all-boys Catholic boarding school in England. And I was like, yeah, sure, that sounds really good. I'm gonna have a blast. And
wow,
I think part of me,
wow,
yeah. So, because my dad went to boarding school, and he kind of wanted me to have the same experience, same kind of education. And I mean, part of me recognized as incredibly privileged to even have that option. And I was kind of confident that my experience over there would kind of be like my experience over here. So I kind of said yes without really even thinking about it. And they packed me off to school in England when I was 16. Then 2 months in, I was lonely. I was cold. Like, I hated the food. Like, to this day, it was like the worst food I've ever eaten in my life. I don't know what they served us, but like, it definitely wasn't edible.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm half English, so I know how that's like.
Well, there you go. I mean, and it was a strange environment because the students were quite unfriendly, and like I very quickly became quite unhappy. There was a lot of bullying. There was a lot of there's a fair bit of racism, mostly towards like the few kids of color, in the school, and it was like a predominantly kind of white school. There was this, I still remember this one. This is one story. Like I remember going down to the ref, and I sat with a few boys from my year that I didn't know so well, and everybody at the table was trying to pronounce that old phrase, "She sells seashells by the seashore." Yeah. And I think you probably heard it. And I was the only kid at the table who could actually say it properly. And I think this irritated them so much that like a brown kid could say it, but they couldn't. So much so that one kid, I remember, turned around and was like, oh, is that how they pronounce it in Sri Lanka? So I had to like listen to shitty comments like that. I got called Paki. I got, a bunch of times. And I think eventually I kind of decided enough was enough and I wasn't going to put up with this. So I came back to Sri Lanka on holiday and my parents kind of sat me down and they said, listen, you can move back here, attend your old school. That's fine by us. But why not give boarding school like a second shot? It may provide more opportunities for you in the long run. Just give it a second shot. If it doesn't work out, you can always come back. And I think it was a weird kind of turning point for me because I realized the point that if I want to become an internationally successful filmmaker, England might be one pathway towards the international arena. And I think there was also a part of me that was kind of determined to not give up. So I went back with this fresh perspective and I kind of came out of my shell. And something just kind of clicked in me and I started making friends with everybody in my year. And it was strange because I made very close friends who I'm still tight with, all of whom kind of ended up moving to London. So when I was there for my master's, I had this amazing base of people to turn to and spend my year with. And it, I think overall it gave me a certain kind of confidence, which I don't know if I would have picked up, had I kind of remained here within like a little bubble, comfortable, living at home with my parents. It's certainly like a certain sense of confidence that I've carried with me like to this day. And I think served me well in all aspects of my life, especially like the professional side of things. And I mean, I went on to actually have a really good time at school, at like a boarding school. And I can almost feel like I'll always look back at those times with rose-tinted glasses. Yeah.
Wow, that's a great story. And I think, even before you came across that quote, you had been living your life like that already. When an opportunity presents itself, take it, then figure out what to do or how to do it later. You've always done that. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit of your story with us, Rehan. I really enjoyed myself. So stick around. I'm gonna chat with Shomy in a bit. We're gonna have a little performance by Janice. And we've got a lot of questions. I'm reading the chats right now in our Zoom, and I'm sure on YouTube and on Facebook too, there are tons of questions, and then I will pick some, and then we will chat again.
Awesome.
All right, thank you so much. Now,
thank you.
We're going to move on to Shomy Chowdhury, who, but before we go to her, we're going to take a little break, and we are going to have a song from Janice. So Janice, again, please do not invite me to come and sing with you because I don't think the world is ready to hear my singing voice, but we want to hear you. So go ahead.
Okay. All right. Here goes to everybody. It's crazy what I'm about to say. Sunshine changes, you take a break. I'm a hot air balloon that could go to space. But yeah, like I don't care, baby, by the way. Because I'm happy I belong if you be like a room without a room. I'm happy I belong if you be like happiness is the truth. I'm happy I belong if you know what happiness is for you. I'm happy I belong if you feel like that's what you want to do. Here comes bad news, talking this and that. Hey, give me all you got, don't hold back. Yeah, I should probably warn you, I'll be just fine. No offense to you, don't waste your time. Here's why. Because I'm happy I belong. If you feel like a moon without a moon. Clap along if you feel like happiness is true. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Bring me down, get nothing. Bring me down, my level's too high. Bring me down, get nothing. Bring me down, level's too high. Bring me down, get nothing. Bring me down, my level's too high. Bring me down, get nothing. Bring me down, says I belong. If you feel like a room without a roof, clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Hey, clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Clap along if you feel like room without a roof. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Hey, hey, come on now, bring me down, my level's too high. Bring me down, get nothing. Bring me down, no, no, no. I'm happy now, happy, no, no, yeah, yeah. Because I'm happy, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do. Yeah, 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 yeah. Without a roof, baby. Clap along if you feel like happiness is the truth. Clap along if you know what happiness is to you. Clap along if you feel like that's what you want to do.
Yay, thank you so much, Janice.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're going to move on to our next amazing guest. Joining us live from Dhaka in Bangladesh is Shomy Chowdhury, a WASH activist, a youth advocate, an amazing young lady. Hey, Shomy.
Hi again, Aisha.
Hi. Okay, so you are on a very interesting career path right now. You are a hygiene activist. You're doing huge things, not just in Bangladesh, but all over the world. But this path could have gone somewhere completely different, because at one point of your life you were going to the United States to study. So what changed?
Right. So basically, when I was 17 years old, I got selected for this exchange program called the Youth Exchange and Study Program in the US. So I went to the US in Michigan to study, finish my 12th year of high school. So I was a senior. So a big part of this exchange program was community service. So I used to do community service activities back home as well. I sort of learned it from my dad. You can say I was inspired by my dad because he was a Rotarian, and I sort of grew up seeing him doing different kinds of activities. So that also sparked an interest in me to try out different things, but those were not to a huge extent. It was just very basic initiatives that I volunteered in. And my mom always wanted me to try out different things. So she enrolled me into different academic extracurricular activities like music academy, dance academy, things like that. And all these experiences actually helped me get into that competitive program, which is the YES program. So when I was in the States, I was placed under a placement organization, and requirement of that organization was that I have to do 40 hours of community service in 1 year. And that's that's actually where I got to do community service to a greater extent, and I really loved doing community service. So by the end of that year, I ended up doing 460 hours of community service, and I was recognized by President Obama with the President's Volunteer Service Gold Award. That was a very defining moment because it inspired me, and I felt like I came to a foreign land. It was sort of a gesture to give back to my host community and thank them for hosting me. But what about my own country where I grew up? I was born and brought up. I need to give back to my country as well. So I was picking up those skills. But on the other hand, I also wanted to be an engineer. So, and definitely US is very good for engineering. So I was trying out different engineering schools, and I actually received a scholarship in MTU, Michigan Technological University. So I was very happy that I got this scholarship, and I knew that I'm coming back home just to change my visa, because as part of the program, I must come back and then change my visa from exchange to student visa and come back. So I left like all my stuff back in my Michigan home, and I thought I'm gonna come back. I would return in a month. But after I came back, my mom was really upset that I was gonna go back again. And she was like, oh, why don't you just stay back? I really miss you when you're not here, blah, blah, blah. And I was sort of in a dilemma because I didn't know what to do. At one side, I have a scholarship. I wanted to be an engineer. I love maths, and this is my dream school. I want to go there. On the other hand, my mom is sort of pulling me back, and so I didn't know what to do. So in the end, I decided to stay back in Bangladesh and not go back. But by the time I could actually convert, so I have the high school American diploma, but I needed to convert it to the equivalent certificate here to get admitted to a school here. But by the time I could actually convert that certificate, all the public schools, engineering schools admission test was over. So I had to go to a private school, but I was a bit mad at my mom that, no, you didn't let me go on scholarship. I'm not going to study engineering in Bangladesh. So I sort of randomly picked and went for economics. So I started going to the school. And at the same time, I also joined the alumni association of that ES program, and I started doing different voluntary work. And as I said, I really loved volunteering, but I don't think I found my true calling or my passion at that stage yet. I just loved that there's an event going on, I would just go and volunteer. So I was doing all kinds of things, right? I was working in youth leadership, on women empowerment, on also sanitation for a bit, but I didn't really explore the area I didn't really dig deep in all these, in any one of these areas. And then, unfortunately, before that, I was very, Dhaka is very known for its insane traffic. So when I would go to my school, it was like a 2.5 hours commute one way. So every day I was spending 5 to 6 hours on the road being stuck. And it is during that time I would feel really frustrated, and I would regret not going back to the States for that engineering degree. So I convinced my mom again that, mom, please let me go. And she actually saw what I was going through, and she was like, okay, fine, why don't you try again? So this time I was trying for credit transfer. Again, I got admitted, I got the selection offer, acceptance offer from a university, and everything was quite okay that I was gonna go back. And that's when suddenly on 14th of April, which is the Bengali New Year's Day in 2014, my mom died. So she had diarrhea. And she was sick for only one day. She used to work at a bank, and she went to work even the day before, and the next day she is dead, like just like that. But it was such a huge shock for me to actually process that this actually happened. And then the first thing I did was I Googled. I obviously could not believe it. I mean, I have heard all these statements, right? Like, oh, you need to do hand washing and people like things like that. But it hit me really hard when I found out that my mom died, that too within a day. I just could not believe that in 21st century it could actually happen. And then I found out it's real. I was researching even more. And then I felt like if I wait one more day, then maybe somebody else would die. So I really need to step up and go out there and tell people that, you know, take WASH seriously. And that's when I found my true calling, you can say, and I decided that this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And regarding that engineering school, regarding going back to the States, I did go back to the States for like 2 months for another event. But during that time, I couldn't really get the time to, so I have a younger sister who is 10 years younger than me. She was 9 years old at the time. And I didn't get a chance to talk to her quite often in those 2 months. So one day I talked to her and I was like, hey, how are you doing? And then she said, oh, actually, she's quite lonely because there is not enough people to take care of her. My dad is always traveling, he's busy for work. And our driver who used to take her to school, he left. The person who used to cook for us, she stole money and left. Like it was a massacre. And at that point, during that phone call, I decided that I'm not gonna come back for college. So for the second time, I let it go because I felt like my sister needed me more than I needed an American degree. So I came back and I continued my WASH advocacy. Yeah.
Wow, what a powerful story. I'm so sorry on the loss of your mother. That must have been very devastating, but it really propelled you and pushed you forward to, you know, helping more people. So, you know, I heard and I read 4 days after your mother passed away, you're already out. You're already talking to people, you know, about the importance of basic hygiene. Now, what exactly do you do as a WASH activist? Now, who do you talk to? How do you get to them? And do you have a team of volunteers? And, you know, do you work also with other countries too?
Yes. So after that incident, I decided that I want to do WASH advocacy. And later, after a few months, I met my now best friend and my co-founder, Rijvi Arifin. So we were just chatting randomly in a burger joint about different issues. And then we really clicked and we felt like we want to create a platform where we can actually systematically do this work because it is not really possible to do individually like this for greater impact. That's when we decided to create the organization Awareness 360. So we started very small, but right now over the years we have grown. Now we are like a big family. We are working in 23 countries. And we basically teach the young people, we give them the different resources and tools and inspiration to actually find out a problem because WASH is, for example, my passion, but we don't want to restrict them with only WASH. So we want to give them the tools to actually be able to identify their own passion, identify a problem in their community and take action and come up with projects that can bring impact, right? So basically for WASH is one of our main focus areas. We reach out to different vulnerable communities. So those communities who are very hard to reach and are marginalized and stigmatized. So for example, we work with sex workers community, we work with sewerage workers, with slum dwellers, then with school children, with people with disabilities, then with garments workers. We try to find out what are the communities that lack knowledge about clean water and sanitation. Now that we are more formulated, we are an organization. So we basically, at first, we try to find out who is the community leader. So for example, if we choose a brothel to reach out to the sex workers community, they usually have like an association of their own, or they have a few madams who control the girls. So we usually try to talk to them first and convince them. And we also do some pre-project survey to actually understand where they're at, what is their level of understanding about clean water and sanitation. And then we design our project that way. So earlier, towards the beginning of this journey, we used to use, for example, the same presentation for every community. But later on, we found out that it's not really that beneficial. So we started tailoring these. It's the same concept, same content, but we find out different delivery system as so that they can actually understand. And then we do also post-project survey, and we keep following up with them.
Like, how many communities is Awareness 360 working with? I love the idea that, yeah, you're encouraging people to youth to come and volunteer, but you're also encouraging them to spearhead, to look for an issue maybe that's within their community, and for them to actually try and solve it, rather than, you know, a quick fix here, volunteer, come back. Now, how do I spearhead this So how many communities and how many countries have you worked with regards to Awareness 360?
So we have over 1,500 volunteers, and we have operating teams in 23 countries. And we basically teach them very basic things, like we recruit people who not necessarily have a lot of experience in community service, but who want to do something for their community, but they just need a little bit of push. So we teach them, how do you write a project proposal, for example? How do you approach for fundraising? How do you assess your impact, things like that. We use the SDGs framework usually to align our projects with. So we have done projects on climate change, on quality education, on poverty, so on different of the SDGs, on gender equality, and of course, WASH, good health and well-being.
Now, you've also received many awards and a lot of acclaim. Like we mentioned earlier, you received an award from President Barack Obama, the Princess Diana Legacy. I watched one of your videos that you even met, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. So what do all of these awards and acclaim, what does it mean to you?
Well, obviously the biggest reward is when I get to see that these communities are actually being benefited from these watchdogs, right? But of course, when big names like the Royals or all these awards, when they recognize my work, obviously it makes me feel good. And also I think it gives a lot of visibility to my work and helps, adds more credibility, and also helps getting more support in future. So for example, one of our biggest challenges as an organization is the lack of funding. So far, we have been utilizing this policy called the zero budget policy. So we encourage our members to come up with projects and cut unnecessary costs, and come up with projects with budget closer to zero. So the closer your budget is to zero, the better it is. But still, of course, you need fund in order to actually reach out to more people and conduct more projects. So I think this kind of awards and recognitions definitely is inspiring. At the same time, it motivates us, of course, it motivates my team. At the same time, it also helps us gain more visibility in order to gain more support, so that we can advance our work.
Now, how do you manage the international attention and recognition that you're getting? Because you see you're traveling all over, you give talks, and for a very young person, you're very well known. So how do you handle this?
Honestly, this is quite challenging to even be recognized as an inspiring leader, because sometimes I feel a pressure. I feel like I always have to act like I'm very tough, and be able to talk about my story and the tragic event that happened to me. I have been doing this for so many years now. It's been 6 years, but still sometimes I just feel like I'm gonna cry or something. Like I don't want to talk about it, but sometimes I feel like I have to talk about it. I have to maintain that image of being very inspiring. So it's actually emotionally sometimes it's quite taxing, I would say. But yeah.
It's because, I guess that's not what you were looking for in the beginning. And that's just like a side effect of the work that you're doing right now. And it's also, it's also recognition. It's also people appreciating you and being inspired by you. So double-edged sword there. Now, at a very young age, you have created this amazing NGO, advice for young people who want to start up their own ventures, be it a charitable organization or, a social enterprise, or even just normal corporations.
I think the first thing for anyone who wants to start any initiative is actually to identify whether that person is passionate about that cause or not, because the journey is not smooth, right? You will come across so many different challenges. So there is a higher chance of you giving up if you're not passionate about it. So it's important to identify the passion first. And this is something I tell everyone, that find your passion in what bothers you. Because oftentimes we associate passion with something that it gives us very happy feeling, but you can also find your passion and seek inspiration from the problems around you, so that it bothers you so much that you don't just rant about it, but you actually start taking action right away. So yes, finding that passion, and then also getting a team is very important, because you might want to do everything on your own, but still when you have a good team, a supportive team who are equally passionate and driven, then the workload becomes way easier. As I was just saying that it is important for even leaders also to take care of their mental health and care for them. And this is something I'm still working on. So yes, I think having a supportive team is also very important, both mentally and in terms of also sharing the load.
I'm quite curious though, what do you do for me time? Like you said, you're still struggling with the whole taking care of yourself. So when you are probably forced by your team to take a day off, what is Shomy up to?
So I watch series. I'm not really a series person. I recently started watching Friends and I love it. So I would just go for Netflix, especially during COVID-19. But in general, I love traveling. So when I was based in Malaysia for college until the beginning of this year. And whenever I would get some free time, I would just start exploring different places. And Malaysia is beautiful. So I would say traveling and just spending time with close friends, not talking about work, but just any other thing, any random thing. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a bit of a serious question, yeah? I mean, what are some of the challenges maybe being a young woman working in Bangladesh, and you are, talking to people about quite difficult topics, because not only do you just talk about the sanitization, washing hands, but you also talk to women about, basic menstrual hygiene. So do you have any roadblocks that you have to work hard to try and get through?
Yes, it is actually quite challenging to work as a young woman in a patriarchal society. I have also faced many challenges. I am not an exception. So for example, I have noticed that a lot of people actually can't accept the fact that I'm doing so much. So just to give you an example, once I met this man who heard about me but did not see my face. So the first time he saw me, the comment he made was, "Oh, I was expecting someone way taller and healthier than you. I heard you travel a lot." And even like in immigration, the officers would ask, "Oh, you've been to all these countries. Are you traveling alone?" So this kind of challenges, they just can't accept it. So I've faced this kind of challenges. Also, I in every step of the way, I feel like they're not accepting me, or they for example, I have been discriminated in different cases. I have been body shamed. Because so when we talk about body shaming, we usually talk about fat shaming, but even being a tiny person or a skinny or short person, it's also quite challenging because I keep getting comments from people. And also sexual harassment, just harassment on the street. This is also very common, and I've also faced that. Some people made different kinds of comments that, and also as you were saying, that I deal with a sensitive range of topics. So some people just could not take it or accept it. I have even been threatened for the kind of work I do, and also, of course, I've been mocked at. So it's been quite challenging. But on the other hand, I'm really privileged and lucky that I had a range of supporters as well. My dad, my close friends, my mentors, my teachers, they have been very supportive, and that's why I could at least forget about that part and move ahead.
Yeah, that's why you said, one of the advice that you gave was to make sure that you have a good team. And I guess you should add to that a support system, because you are going to be facing a lot of pushback maybe, but, with a team, they remind you of your cause, right?
Yes,
so
absolutely.
What I'm going to do now, I'm going to invite Rehan to come back in and join us. And we have got a lot of questions, like I mentioned, not just here on the Zoom chat, on YouTube, and also Facebook for both Shomy, for both for you and for Rehan. All right, Rehan, if you could come and join us back in, that'd be really awesome. And now we've also got a clip from Didi, which is the short film that Rehan directed. It's the one that has made the Holly Short Film Festival. And I'd love to actually share that. I can't wait to see that. So let's roll that.
Thought we could catch up.
All right, fine. I have an appointment and I need you to come.
I knew there'd be something.
They won't release me unless someone else is there.
Why?
I don't want my bread in the oven.
What? Can you just speak normally for once?
Abortion, Tammu.
Wow, so there you go. That was a clip from the short film Didi, which all the best. It's actually, you know, made it to the Holly Shorts Film Festival. And I think it's really amazing that you managed to achieve so much that you did in such a short time with that. I mean, the actual shooting itself. Now, I love it how you, Rehan, decided that you were going to have an extremely diverse team from the get-go. You're going to have, you know, POC, people of color. You were going to have a lot of women representation in your crew itself. So this question is from K7, and it's from our Facebook page. What is your opinion of colorblind casting in movies and TV shows?
I think it depends on, the project, and I think it depends on the context. I will say I think it's important to cast the right person for the role above anything else. Cast the person that is best suited to take on the part. I mean, however, obviously certain people shouldn't be playing certain roles, you know, white people should not be playing black people or Asian people, obviously. I think it's more important to kind of try to build a level playing field, ultimately, that gives everybody equal opportunities. And I think it's probably more important to kind of like build in your representation into your script itself, you know, so from like from well before pre-production. That would be those would be my thoughts, I think.
Okay, someone also has another question, and he says it's got to do with the script. So should the writing be adapted to the actor to recognize that the story may affect a person of color differently than a white character, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, especially if like the project kind of, I think so. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, it is kind of project specific, and you might not have to do that with certain scripts, with certain stories. But there will be certain situations where it's absolutely key, and it does kind of change the scenario, does change the character completely because they're from a certain background. Yeah.
Okay, so a question from Keelan from the chat box, also for you, Rehan. I'll actually fire off your questions first, and then I'll go back to you, yeah, Shomy? Keelan absolutely loved what you said earlier. You said that ceiling is made to shatter, and you know, Keelan finds that inspiring. So the question is, are you always like this, ready and always say yes to challenge attitude of life? Or can you share more of your personal story on this? Like, how did you get there? Because that's actually quite rare. You know, a lot of us, we face a very, you know, a situation where it's a bit, you know, not sure, or, you know, you're unsure. And then so you actually turn away from it rather than like going head on.
Yeah. I mean, filmmaking really isn't for the faint of heart, because I feel like I've been rejected continuously, and I've failed on so many different occasions. But I've always kind of done my best to kind of learn from that rejection, to learn from that failure. I mean, I really believe that if you persevere, you will almost succeed, almost certainly succeed, eventually anyway. There's actually a term for it. They call it failing forward. You know, as the kind of cliche goes, it's genius is 99% perspiration, 1% inspiration. And many people I think who get far in the world, the ones who persevere, not the, not the lazy geniuses. And I, as I say, like I feel like numerous times, and I think one specific example where I totally lost all faith was after my very first short film. I was about 21, and the short took me about 3 years to put together. It was, I think, about half an hour long, and it was like an ensemble piece starring Sri Lanka's two most critically acclaimed actresses who were kind of willing to take a chance on like a complete unknown. And I remember we shot in 2 different cities in Sri Lanka on like a shoestring budget. We shot like in my family house. We shot on a train, guerrilla style, and I really kind of like put my heart and soul into this, right? I directed, I co-wrote, I produced, I shot it, and ultimately I was quite happy with the final product, and I was kind of convinced that this film would travel the world and do things for my career. But I was totally wrong. The film got rejected from almost every film festival I applied to, even like the smaller, crappier film festivals. Like, we're literally talking a good like 30 to 40 film festivals, and I was so devastated because it had like taken me 3 years, right? And, it wasn't just the time. Like I'd sacrificed my hard-earned money. I'd gotten so, like, honestly, I got so used to waking up in the morning and like reading like rejection letters in my inbox for like, I think nearly like a whole year. It was, yeah. I mean, I remember, and it's always like the same message. Thank you for submitting your film. We regret to inform you that we were unable to include it in this year's lineup, blah, blah, blah. And like, I just remember feeling so terrible, right? It kind of like, it's soul crushing, to create like art is like a vulnerable act in itself, but to face that kind of rejection, especially in your early 20s, is just like soul destroying. And I think you really begin to question whether you're any good. And in my case, like, I'd always known I wanted to be a film director. This is what I had like studied in university. I'd kind of been obsessed with pursuing this my entire life. There was no backup. And I was terrified, I mean, I'd kind of taken, I'd taken this project on, and it was quite an ambitious project, and like things just didn't work out the way I expected them to. And I was like, God, you screwed up. You've chosen the wrong career path. There's like now no backup. You're a complete disappointment. And honestly, I was kind of convinced that like I was no good at directing films, and I think for like the next kind of 6 months.
Well, I guess it's kind of good that you faced that kind. Sorry, I was saying that I guess it's kind of good that you faced that kind of rejection and that failure at a very young age, when your skin is thicker and you pick yourself up faster. So I guess that pretty much really helps create that kind of really, really, failing forward, daring greatly kind of personality, right?
Yeah. No, absolutely. It was kind of funny because I went back to kind of directing documentaries and commercials for money, just to take my mind off like this horrible disappointment. And it was only when I met a director, like an Australian Sri Lankan director, randomly. He'd just flown into Colombo from Sydney, and he was looking for locations for like a film. And he wanted to meet me because he'd heard of me through a friend. And I remember asking him what his plans were for the film. And he said, oh yeah, we arrived yesterday and we're going to start shooting next week. We don't have our locations and crew in place, but and we're still working on the script, but we're going to make it happen. And I just remember thinking, wow, this guy's making a film in a few weeks in a foreign country where he doesn't really know anybody. He doesn't even have his locations together. He's still working on his script, but he was so passionate about making the film that I was really, really inspired. And I think it was at that moment like a light bulb went off in my head, and I was like, I can't give up. I've gotten to this point. It's like what I ended up doing was I set myself this little challenge that I'd kind of write and direct a film in 1 month. And like to ensure that I stuck to the plan, I actually I booked the screening venue like a couple of months in advance, and I set a date and I invited a whole bunch of people well before I'd even like written the film, right? So I was like, now I've got to do it. And yeah, I stuck to the plan. I made a short film, and it was quite an ambitious second shot, you know, lots of night shoots, complicated, technical, long takes, lots of car shots. And it was received well in Colombo, but I think at that moment I realized that filmmaking is kind of like a sport, and that you only improve through practice. You know, you have to do it, you have to do it, you have to do it. You know, you have to make 10 of these films, you know. So I made another film. I made another film like straight afterwards, and that third film ended up premiering in Montreal and in the US at 2 fantastic film festivals, and kind of indirectly helped me get this fantastic like Sheveling scholarship from the British government.
And so that really pretty much
blah, blah, blah.
opened doors for you,
yeah,
right?
it kind of opened doors for me, you know.
And you know, that's what they say, when you fall off a bicycle, you get back on again, right? And like exactly what you said, a lot of things in life is a practice. Now, Shomy, I'm going to move along to you. You have a lot on your plate. So one question from the chat box, April Cummings actually asked this, and she wants to know, how do you manage your time so wisely, and what keeps you motivated to keep on going and also exploring new roles?
Okay, thank you, April, for the question. So how do I manage my time wisely? Wow, I'm still working on this, honestly. It's quite difficult, especially when I'm working across different time zones. It's a bit more difficult. I have meetings in weird hours. I have messy sleeping schedules. So it's not as perfect as it seems from the outside. But I think what helps me is that I work with all these different organizations in a very collaborative approach, because I feel like it's important that we all work together, because ultimately we have the same goals, right? So for example, Awareness 360 works with the UNDP Movers program, right? So we are doing different workshops to teach and raise awareness about SDG among young people. So I think doing collaborative projects also saves time. At the same time, you also get a lot of hands to work on the project. So, and also I have issues with deadlines. So I try to make my own deadlines, which is before the real deadline. I'm still working on it. I'm not perfect, but yeah, just trying my best. And regarding the question of how do I keep myself motivated, whenever I feel discouraged, or I just feel like, why am I even doing this? I get frustrated sometimes, but that's when I remind myself of my why. Like I look back and I remind myself, why did I even start doing what I do? And also I reflect on what I have done so far. What are the sort of projects that I have done? How have I benefited people and changed lives? And those impact is what I think motivates me to go forward.
Now, another question, and this one is from Kajai. So with COVID-19 happening around the world and it's affecting millions of businesses and also lives, and however, people are using the same message, the key message is the same, take care of your hygiene. So do you think it's the right time to champion your cause further, considering the need for understanding basic hygiene? So this is where you can actually, you know, make your message louder, or maybe just dig in deeper and say, yeah, this is it.
Yes, absolutely. Our work at Awareness 360 has never felt as relevant as now, because this is exactly what we have been trying to tell people about. And it is, honestly, it's a bit sad that a pandemic had to come our way to remind us why hygiene is important. And I think we need to take this as a learning, not just we, but also our policymakers, our decision makers, our world leaders, who unfortunately don't seem to understand the importance of WASH and the long-term return of investing in WASH. So I hope that they will take this as a learning experience and will keep investing in WASH. And also I think it is important to iterate that hand washing and taking care of our sanitation and all that is not only important for COVID-19, but also for other preventable diseases like diarrhea, cholera, neglected tropical diseases. There's so much more than COVID-19. So I hope that once this pandemic ends, people just don't forget about it and go back to the normal, which was not the right normal. So yes, I absolutely agree with the comment that this is the time that we need to emphasize even more with WASH.
Okay, so I have one last question, and this is both for you, Shomy, and also for Rehan. And it's pretty much your message for young people. You know, what do you want to say to them? Shomy, do you want to start first?
Should I go first? Okay. So my message is try to believe in the present, try to believe in the process. Whatever is happening, probably is happening for the best, but try to make the best use of the present. So for example, if I had gone back to the States for college to start my engineering degree, I would not have been able to spend the last few years with my mom. So I don't regret that anymore. So I think it's important that we own the present and we start taking action now and don't just wait for tomorrow.
Wow, such poignant words. Thank you so much. And Rehan, same question for you. The message for young folks.
I think use your work, whatever it is, to try and ignite consciousness and foster empathy. Because I think if there's one thing we really need more in the world right now, it's empathy. Whether it's through creating films or whatever it is, you know. Try and use your platform and your work to make the world a better place. I mean, cliche as that sounds, you know, I think we're really here to make a difference. And yeah, it's important to use your time here wisely.
Yeah, and that's so true. And even more so now, everybody has a platform thanks to social media. Everybody's on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram. So we all have a voice. So this is our chance to talk about things that are very important, that are affecting people all over the world. Anyway, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to wrap up. That has been an amazing session. Thank you so much, Shomy and Rehan, for sharing your stories, for opening up, for being vulnerable. I am absolutely sure that you guys are at the absolute beginning of your journey, and you are going to continue making a lot more difference in the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Aisha. Thank you for having us. And I'm very inspired by Rehan too.
I'm very inspired by your story too.
Aw, I love this. It's true. And you know, you two are very inspiring people, and you've inspired each other. You've inspired me, and I'm sure definitely everybody listening too. Now, I'm going to wrap up now, okay? So before we end, we're going to head back to Manila. We've got Janice Javier. She is ready and waiting to give us the final song for tonight. So, Janice, I'm going to hand the mic over to you.
For me, darling, just dive right in and follow my lead. I found a boy, beautiful and sweet. I never knew you were that someone waiting for me. We were just kids when we fell in love, not knowing what it was. I will not give you up this time. Don't let this kiss be slow. Your heart is all I know, and in your eyes, you're holding my life. Baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When you said you loved the mist, I whispered underneath my breath, you heard it, darling, you look perfect tonight. I found a man stronger than anyone. shares my dreams. I hope that someday I'll share his home. Oh, I found a love to carry more than just my secrets, to carry love, to carry children of our own. We are still kids when we fell in love, fighting against all odds. I know we'll be alright this time. Darling, just hold me close, my girl, and be your man. I see my future in your eyes, baby. Dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listening to our favorite song. When I saw you in that dress, looking so beautiful, I don't deserve this. Darling, you look perfect tonight. Oh, baby, I'm dancing in the dark with you between my arms, barefoot on the grass, listen to our favorite song. I have faith in what I see. Now I know I have met an angel in person. She looks perfect. I don't deserve this. You look perfect tonight. You all look perfect tonight. Happy to sing for you guys. Thank you.
No, that was perfect. That's what I wanted to say. Janice, that was perfect. You know what? I really look forward to hearing and seeing whatever you serve for us throughout the night. I love that. And I will see you again tomorrow, okay?
All right. Thank you.
And once again, thank you so much to Rehan and to Shomy for sharing your stories with us. That was really great. Okay, guys, we are going to be wrapping up Karma Dialogues for tonight. Guys, please save the date, December 4th. We're going to have a very special episode of Karma Dialogues with a mystery guest. We'll give you some more info soon. Until then, that is all for our show tonight. Join us tomorrow for our final show of this series. It's going to be live once again, 7:30 p.m. Bangkok time. We're going to have two inspiring women, a CEO and an entrepreneur, and they are breaking new grounds in their very own way. Until tomorrow night, once again, I am Aisha Sinclair saying think good, do good, and good night.